Imagine parenting without that constant static in your mind. I know it sounds impossible, but it's not. Today, we're hacking the 4 types of overstimulation you didn't even know had names, but will change the way you approach parenting and your relationships, so stay tuned. Hey parents, welcome to Fulfillment Therapy. Do you want to raise your kids better and have a stronger marriage? Are you up late at night researching marriage and parenting tools and self-care tips? Do you start each day hoping for deeper connections and less chaos, but it ends with family arguments and going 12 different directions again? My name's Kendra, wife, mom, therapist, and growth enthusiast. It wasn't until I discovered how to fulfill my unmet needs that I was finally able to show up as my best self, as a spouse and parent. I realized that by meeting my needs, I could more fully meet the needs of my family, with more energy and less resentment. In this podcast, I teach parents skills like boundary setting, prioritizing personal needs, communication, and claiming ownership. Just like my clients, you'll be shocked by the improvement in your marriage, parenting, and personal life when you focus on fulfilling your important unmet needs. Ready to prioritize yourself so you can quit mentally throat punching people? Then grab those earbuds and head outside, and let's walk and talk. Welcome back to Fulfillment Therapy, where we explore ways to improve your mental health, wellness, and life fulfillment. I'm your host, Kendra Nielsen, and today we're talking about that hidden culprit of parental burnout. And it's all about understanding that sensory overload and reclaiming your calm. I want to talk about a client that I'm going to call Maddie. She came to session in tears after screaming at her toddler for spilling milk, and she described feeling like her skin was on fire every time that her kids argued. Or even how maybe like the hum of the dishwasher made her want to crawl out of her body. A while ago, I didn't know much about this, but I've been studying it since a podcast guest talked about it. But I realized as she was talking that her short fuse wasn't a parenting failure like she was thinking. It was sensory overload that was hijacking her nervous system. And by the end of this episode today, you're going to see how Maddie turned this around and how you can too in just simple ways. So let's talk about sensory overload 101. So why do our brains feel like there are 50 tabs open? I know I get really overwhelmed when there's lots of tabs open in my browser, and it's likely the same way for you. Like we just feel like everything's so cluttered and overwhelmed, and we start to feel this tension on our back and our shoulders, and it feels like too much. Sensory overload happens when the brain can't process all that competing stimuli, and it triggers that fight, flight, freeze response. For example, maybe you're a parent and you're cooking dinner while managing your toddler's tantrums and Alexa reminders, and maybe even the fluorescent lighting in the kitchen. Each input stacks until the brain buffers. Like it just starts to go offline a little bit or go on the fritz. So the prefrontal cortex in our brain is responsible for that decision making, and it goes offline during overload. Just like your computer starts to slow down if it's doing too many things at once and then it crashes, same type of thing. It does this to leave those primal survival instincts intact and in charge because those are the most important things. They want those things to be online more than maybe those other things that are of lesser value. So sensory overload is an eternal battle against daily situations. It's a problem of not feeling too little, but feeling too much. It personally really helped me to break it down and to explore what those 4 things are. So I'm going to do that for you today. And it seems like this big aha moment. At least it was for me. So let's talk about those 4 types of overstimulation, because you might be predominantly one of these and you haven't even really thought about it before. Or maybe it's your spouse or your child. And once you recognize these things, there are very simple answers on how you can help them with their overstimulation so that they can calm down. And I'll go into that in just a minute. But the first one is auditory. So constant noises like screaming or YouTube videos or appliances beeping at you really make you edgy. When I broke this down with one of my clients, he recognized that this was his specific type of overstimulation that was the most grating for him. So he started wearing noise dampening earplugs during witching hour so that he wouldn't be so irritable. Maybe that's some simple thing that you can do. Now, what about tactile? That's the second one. Maybe you feel touched out from clingy kids or sticky hands or scratchy clothing tags. Is that you? Does that ring a bell? Does that feel like it resonates with you? So I had another client that swapped out tight jeans. She recognized like certain things really irritated her throughout the day. And now she just predominantly wears athleisure so that she doesn't have such physical discomfort. And that helps her be more present when things get tense. And it's just a simple, tiny thing that you can do. But we often don't think about it when we don't really know which way we predominantly feel overstimulated. The next one is visual. So maybe that's clutter, that's bright screens, that's chaotic environments that overwhelm our focus. For example, one of my clients that identified that this was his big thing decided to clear the kitchen counter daily so that he had this eye rest zone that he called it to lower his stress. He recognized that that was the zone that if it was clutter free, he felt so much more calm and center. He felt more regulated. He felt like he could let other things go because that was clean. And it seems like such a silly thing, but think about it yourself. If this is you, there might be one area that you're like, oh, I just can't stand looking at it. Then focus on that area because you recognize if that is done, you can let go of a lot of that overstimulation and you can relax more and largely let go of that stress and not be overwhelmed by it. Now, the fourth one is intellectual and social. Maybe you have decision fatigue from managing schedules or conflicts or small talk, or maybe you have a job that involves a lot of talking. If this is you, there's a few different things you can do, but I'll just give you one example for now. You could institute a decision pause rule. So for non-urgent tasks, you can tell people, I need 10 minutes to think. And I often do that because if I don't have that, I feel overwhelmed and tense and irritable. So this is definitely something I notice in myself, that intellectual, social overstimulation for sure. So I'm going to review those again. Auditory, tactile, so that's the touch one, visual, and then intellectual, social. So maybe decision fatigue or something around people. Now, we all generally have overwhelm in all of these areas, but is there one that feels more highlighted to you? Like it is something that you've recognized overwhelms you more than maybe the other ones. Or maybe it's your spouse or one of your kids. And if you recognize these things, there's simple things we can shift. There's things that you can do to manage that overwhelm. So explore what those might be. I talk about the ripple effect a lot. When we feel overwhelmed and we have that overload, we sabotage our relationships. When we don't manage one of those four things very well, or even recognize that we're overstimulated, that's when we start snapping at our kids for those minor messes, or tuning out their requests, or not being present with them. So I'm going to go back to Maddie for a second. Maddie realized that her angry mom moments often happen after hours of that sensory chaos. Not because she didn't care. So she was able to recognize, oh, wait, it's because I've been really overstimulated in this area that this ended up happening. I do care. I do love my kids. It's not that I'm a horrible mom. I'm just overstimulated. And what can I do about that? Now, what about with our spouse or a partner? Maybe you're withdrawing a lot or fighting or bickering because you have depleted emotional reserves. For example, one couple instituted a no heavy talks after 8 p.m. rule to protect their sensory bandwidth. And honestly, most of my couples benefit really well from that. They even sometimes say no serious discussions after dinner, or maybe only scheduled times throughout the week. A lot of my clients like that because then it feels like they can let go, they can relax, they don't have to jump right into those big things all the time. My friends, we are all sensitive in different ways, even if we are not really aware of it, or even if we don't have the self-awareness to recognize what that is. Knowing that we have that sensitivity, we need that downtime, not because we're weak, but in a sense, it's like we're experiencing life in high definition, and we might need to rest our eyes a bit from that. There's nothing wrong with being sensitive. There's nothing wrong with being overstimulated. It just, gives us information to better manage ourselves so that we can show up as our best self in our relationships. Now, let me give you a few neuroscience hacks to rewire that overstimulated brain. So, a sensory diet would really benefit from micro breaks to reset that nervous system. For example, I have a client that likes to walk in the grass to feel more grounded and just does that a couple times throughout the day or even throughout the week to relax, especially when they're feeling overstimulated. An environmental tweak you can do is use warm lighting and reduce that background noise, or even create a calm corner with maybe weighted blankets or better lighting or a cozy corner of some sorts with different things that will help anyone in the family when they're feeling overstimulated. You can talk to each family member about the different ways you can feel overstimulated and what you could put in that corner to help all of you calm down and recognize we all get that way and it's okay. But when we don't manage it, A, B, and C happens. And when we do manage it, what can happen instead? So talk to your kids about these things. Talk to your spouse about these kinds of things. Normalize it. Recognize that you're not a bad person. You're just overstimulated and you need to calm down from that. And this is the third point I wanted to go to. As you implement that calm corner or whatever it is you decide to do as a family, you are modeling that for your kids. You're normalizing it. So maybe when you're overstimulated, you even whisper to your kids when you're feeling overstimulated, Mom needs a quiet minute. And then practice that box breathing or something with your kids, or go to that calm corner and calm yourself down and then come back and talk about how it went and how you felt. Another thing you can do that I think really helps parents is reframe that sensitivity and talk about how it's a superpower, because it really is. There is a vice side of it if we're not managing that overstimulation, but it's also a beautiful thing. So, for example, maybe a mom noticed that she has a lot of sensory awareness, and this helps her identify her kid's anxiety meltdown before it happened. Like, she's very aware of some of those things and is able to utilize that in a really good way. And she can also help other people recognize their gifts because of her sensory awareness. Another thing you can do from moving from survival to thriving is to rediscover what lights you up. Think about ways that you can manage that overstimulation that will bring you joy. And remember, these things help you be your best self. They help you manage that overstimulation so you can better show up to your family members. So that could look like a burnt out dad doing a 10-minute guitar session right before bedtime when he typically feels a little bit overwhelmed. That can calm him down beforehand. Remember that your sensitivity is a special radar, even though it doesn't feel like it all the time, but it picks up on so many little things, even if you're not cognitively thinking about it. I know that it can feel like a lot, but it also can be a superpower in a lot of ways. And I know that if you're struggling with this, maybe your child is too. So reframing it and helping them recognize how it is a superpower instead of just a vice. All right, 3 things now to break it down. Name it to tame it. So recognize when you're overstimulated before that frustration escalates. Like, instead of yelling at your kids that it's too loud, explain to them what you need and why, and what you're going to do to de-escalate and manage that situation better. Remember that sensory boundaries matter. So use earplugs or declutter or say no to non-essential things to manage that overwhelm, because everybody's different. Remember that we don't have to be perfect. It's more about repairing and managing that overstimulation as best we can. So after a meltdown, model that self-compassion. Don't beat yourself up because you're teaching your kids what to do. Say, I'm sorry that I yelled. Let's try again. Or, I'm sorry that I yelled. I was getting a little overstimulated by this. So next time, I'm going to do this instead to better manage that so I don't yell at you. And I'm so sorry that I did that. I want to end with going back to Maddie again. So now Maddie has a sensory emergency kit that she keeps in her pantry, actually. And it has those noise canceling headphones. It has lavender oil. It has a stress ball. It has a few different things that she knows that help her. And recently, when her toddler spilled juice this time, instead of screaming, she grabbed her stuff and she simply said, oops, let's clean that up together. She utilized the tools that she had in her preparation work. She realized that she was simply overstimulated and there's things that she can do to manage it. Now, maybe in the moment she felt pretty tense, but she knew she could come down from that and manage things before that even happened to help her regulate better. My friends, if you would like more tools, we are on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we are on Pinterest, we are all over the place, and we have those links in the show notes because honestly, we all need a bit of help and reminders on how to do things. We also have a lot of free resources on fulfillmenttherapy.org, from tools to coaching to courses to blogs. We have it all. So check it out there if you need a little more help to improving your mental health, wellness, and life fulfillment. As always, we have new episodes every Monday and Thursday. I'll see you back then. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, chances are someone else would too. Would you take 30 seconds to share this with a friend who's looking for greater family fulfillment? And while you're sharing, tell me what you think about the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. It refuels me when I hear this podcast is helping you. No matter what your house or your hair looks like, I'll meet you back here every Monday and Thursday morning for more episodes. Until then.